Hello, world. Hope you're all doing great. Last week, I started what I called the collaborative series. We just did kind of like an introduction, introducing the topic. And before I go into what I'm going to talk about today, I just wanted to do a quick plug in. I just want to let you all know that one of my authors, Cassandra Webb, we're just finishing up some of the formatting for her poetry book. It's called Beauty and the Journey, which is an awesome series of poems that I think benefit young women, especially young women who've gone through trials and tribulations. So we're getting really close to being able to, take that couple steps forward. Not ready for release just yet, but we're getting pretty close. So just be looking out for it. So last week, back to talking about the series. So last week I introduced the topic of collaborative work, specifically for those who are working, in more of the creative fields, but also that's not limited to just visual arts or musical, but sometimes running a business it requires the same level of creativity. And so I'm going to have a variety of speakers talking about different angles of working collaboratively in different environments. So today I'm going to kind of talk about some of the basics. And to give you a little background on myself, I have a bachelor's degree, I have a master's degree, I have a license, and I have a couple certifications. So I've worked in a variety of different fields, from nonprofits to for profits, music. I've worked, and now in publishing. So I work with a lot of people in a variety of different environments, and I have to work collaboratively with them, including the state, and that can make things a little complicated when you're working in different theaters of collaboration. So when I talk to you about the basics, these are some things that kind of go basically across the board when you're collaborating with people, and it's especially important when you're collaborating with creative when your project is creative. So number one thing when you're collaborating with people is having a goal. Your personal goal, sorry, that was out of frame, a goal for the project, and then, of course, what's the goal of the collaboration? So the goal of your personal goal, if you're an artist, well, your goal might be painting as much things you want to paint. Okay? Uh, the goal of the project might be, okay, I want to take these paintings and share them with the world. Not just make a lot of paintings, but making them to be distributed. The goal of the collaboration may be, okay, I'm going to partner with this marketing firm, or I'm going to partner with this artist to do a show. You got to have those three goals, because when you are collaborating with someone, if you yourself don't have a specific and clear goal, you're going to be lost. If the project doesn't have a clear goal, what's going to happen is you'll start going and you'll be on page one, the other person will be on page two, and someone else will be on page three. And so the project's never going to work because you're not working together. You want to be moving like a well-oiled machine when you're collaborating with people. And that starts with having a goal for the project. Next is the goal of the collaboration. What purpose does this other person involve in your project? It's one thing for them to say, yeah, I like that idea, let's work on it. Well, okay, what purpose does that other person serve in your collaboration? So back to being a painter, if I'm working with someone to create an art festival, well, okay, I may be the artist, that other person might not be. So what role does he have? Obviously, he's not going to be painting, or she. So what role do they have in this collaboration? It needs to be clear. Or if you're both painters, how do we make it so my art and your art both get a fair amount of attention? So you have to have a goal for the collaboration. Point number two. And this one's probably the bigger one, is you got to understand, and this is, I'll call this point the reality of a collaboration. The project, whatever it is, if you came up with the idea, it starts out as your baby. But the moment you start collaborating, the moment you start getting more people involved, it's no longer just your baby. And that kind of plays into the next point, which is your pride. So the project is no longer your baby the moment you start collaborating. Now you have to share that baby. It's kind of like a awkward custody battle. You got to find a way to make it work, and that comes down. The tough part about that is your pride. When this is a project that means a lot to me, I may want all the control. But here's the thing about life. In all reality, there's so little control you as a person actually have. And the thing with your pride is your pride can get in the way of, okay, if this person over here, out of frame, is talented at distributing, well, I got to trust that that person is superior at that task than they are with me. Even though I may understand the project more than they do, I got to trust that that person knows what their skill set is capable of doing, and I got to take my pride out of it and understand that I have a specific set of skills, Liam Neeson. But my specific skills are specific. They're not across the board. You got to take your pride out of it. Because one, whenever you do any creative project, there's always going to be critics. So you already got to be able to suck up your pride and know that no matter how great of a project you have, somebody's going to think it sucks. There's people out there that think J.K. Rowling's a terrible writer. They're wrong, but if I let my pride get into it, I'm going to be discouraged, or I'm going to think maybe there's not things I could do better. But also when you're working in a collaborative effort, I mean, if you think about all of these bands that have ever broken up, part of the issue, the reason they broke up, pride. You got to take pride out of it when you collaborate because, as a previous point, the moment you start collaborating, it's no longer just your baby. And that's okay. Because the beauty of when you collaborate is you take your idea, you take someone else's ideas, and it could be on the same subject, and then you create something all new. And sometimes that thing you're creating is bigger than what you could have imagined, impacting people you never thought it would imagine. You could imagine. But it takes getting your pride out of the way and understanding that it's no longer just your baby. And if you want to expand your exposure of your artwork, you got to be willing to give that baby up a little bit, which is sometimes difficult. And the last basic thing, and I think this is the biggest one, is trust. Because whenever you're collaborating with someone, you got to trust, one, that they're not going to steal your work and run with it, or you're not going to steal their work and run with it. But also, you got to trust that that person's going to follow through with what they say they're going to do. And that kind of works differently because sometimes, there's people that communicate and process and work very directly. And there's other people that work a little slower. Some of that's cultural, some of that's just how that person works. But that's okay if you have trust. If I can trust that this person over here works slower, but I know the project's still going to come out good, then I don't got to worry about it. But if I don't have trust, then I'm going to nag the crap out of that person, which is going to cause them to stress out, which will slow the work down even more or make it not even come to fruition. So trust is the most important one, also because sometimes people do projects with friends, which I'm one of those people. Trusting my friend to have my back is one thing, but trusting my friend to work on a project that has deadlines, that has things that need to be done today, that's a different level of trust. That's not a relational trust, that's a functional trust. Just like when I go to work, they trust me to do my job. That's why they give me a paycheck. And the moment that trust starts getting lost, well, then my butt's out of a job. So that's where that trust comes in. And for some people, trust is not an easy thing. And it shouldn't be. Trust is an important component of humanity and being a people, but trust is easily broken. And so, but trust, as the previous point, you got to take your pride out of it. You either trust them or you don't. And sometimes we let our pride affect our trust. You know, I want this project done today. Well, tomorrow's just as good as today. But my pride says it needs to be done today. But trust says, you know what? I trust you to get it done, and I trust that when you get it done, it's going to be amazing. So just to recap some of the basics, I know this video went a little longer than I really originally intended. So first off, you got to have a goal in mind. Not just for yourself, but also for the project. You also need a goal for the collaboration, and it needs to be clear. Secondly, the moment you start collaborating, that project is no longer just your baby, and that's fine. Third, keep your pride in check. You know, the moment you start putting a creative work out there, you can have some pride in it, but don't let your pride overcome this part of your brain, the thinking part of your brain right here, executive functioning right here. Don't let your pride overcome this. Pride is tied with emotion, and when you're working with a project, you can have some emotion, but don't let emotion override your thinking. 4, trust. Trust is one of the biggest components, if not the biggest, in collaborating. And that's why you need to be very particular about the people you collaborate with. Hope you all enjoy this video. There's more coming. I got some guest speakers that you're going to just love. Thank you so much, and God bless.